sexually molested me over 700 times until I was 13. I had made a deal with God by this point that I could deal with it as long as he didn't hurt mummy. So that was the deal, and that's why. But one day he did hurt mum. So I went in there and gave him a good what to, and he chased me, and I said, you touch her again, I'll tell. Well, he never did, and he never touched me again after that either. It's about drawing the line in the sand. So I was married 3 or 4 days after my 19th birthday to a narcissist in domestic violence. I lasted a couple of years, and then I ran. I had 2 kids to him, met someone else, had a kid to him. That didn't work, had another kid to somebody else. So I had 4 kids to 3 different fathers by the time I was 26. And by this time I was an atheist. I'd been a Christian all my life up until I was 24. And I'd told God after the 3rd child, obviously, you know, you're not real. Life sucks, you're not real. So I had, luckily out of the first marriage, I was able to get myself a little house so that we would never be homeless or get kicked out. But I went through a procession of men, and that's what happens to women who have been abused as well, and boys. And so I figured something was really wrong with my life by the time I was 26, so I went back to high school, and I literally went back to high school, full uniform, the whole works. I didn't have to do sex ed though. They let me out of that. Oh, come on, I should have got more of a reaction than that. They kept me out of that.
No one was ready for that.
And anyway, I graduated at 32 from QUT and I became a teacher.
Amen.
What had happened though, in that 4 years that I was at university, in my 2nd year I met a guy who I'd known for 5 years by this point. And I didn't realise that he had been a heroin addict, cocaine, speed, whatever else he had been on. And I would never have allowed him into my house. All I did was smoke a bit of pot. Anyway, I got involved with him, and by the time I realised he had track marks on his arms, it was too late. So you can imagine within 8 months, I was injecting as well. And so my whole 3rd year at university as a teacher, I was basically off my face. And it was massive DV. He punched holes through my whole house, he beat me up. I remember in 1998, I went to my final prac, I had strangulation marks all around my neck, all my legs were bruised. And my teacher at the time, who was supervising me, put all of her pens down, looked at me and went, you're a really smart woman. How did you get yourself into this? And I went, just let me finish my education. I had to do one thing at a time, one baby step at a time. Just let me get my S1, which is what you needed to become a teacher and guaranteed a job. And I had 4 kids that I had to support. And mind you, as soon as I graduated from university with that S1, they gave it to me. I got rid of him. And so I was a single mum again with 4 kids on my own. And one of my partners, so when I had become an atheist at 24, he'd actually found Christ. And so he sent me a Bible because I graduated, and I'm like, what's this? And but by the 7th of March, after having drug-induced seizures and being schizophrenic because I was weaning myself off drugs, but because you can't be on drugs when you're a teacher in a primary school. I went to church and actually gave my life to Christ. And he saw such a difference in me that that same guy followed me to church the next week, gave his life to Christ. 2 years later, God told me I had to marry him. And we've been married for 20 years on the 30th of June.
Woo!
So what we did, though, is I'm just one of those people. I've been a pastor in a church since then. I gave up teaching, and I've been a pastor. I've been a celebrant. And in 2014, I'd started a business, and I called it Unique Life Family Support. And I realised that there was this big gap in the system where people want help. But where do you go to get it? There is nowhere to go and get help. Free help, it's 3 or 4 months to get into there. There's such a big, huge waiting list, and there's all of these families and men and women who are struggling, and to get professional help, well, it costs money. So what do? So I started up this business where I would just walk beside them. I did a lot of relationship counselling because I'm really good at that stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
4 kids, 3 different fathers, come on. Work with me here. And so what that did was that actually led into Dare. A lady come to me, she was in massive DV, and because I'd been in the wedding industry as a celebrant, she knew me, so she come to me, and her husband was a very dangerous man. He was an ex-copper with lots of guns in the house, and there was no way to get her out. So, and it was a real God thing. God just gave me a real big moment and said, start this. So I did. I took those 20 formal dresses, I put them online. I had 80 by the end of the week. People just donated and donated and donated. That went underneath our house until we outgrew underneath our house, and we had a huge house, we've sold it. And we moved into a shop, and then in 2017, the council gave us 400 metres squared building, and so we have a formal wear shop with about $120,000 worth of stock in, new dresses and suits for boys. We help year 12s out. It was called Dare Formal Wear. We've just changed the name to Dare DV Support. And at the back behind that, so my office is like a double glassed thing where they can't see me, but I can watch what's going on outside into the shop, but mainly it's for safety for women. Amen. We've got a bulletproof room. It's all secured. You have to do PIN card entry, PIN entry to actually get in and get out, and there's cameras everywhere. And at the moment, women only can come in and get help. They just come in, and what we do is we sit down and we put them in with other people. So it's about providing ongoing support. So we walk with them. We're like their mentors, like their support workers, but we're just volunteers, just who are trained. And so we sit down and we might help them with court stuff, with court reporting. We make sure they've got food. We will go to bat for them for housing. We go over to court with them. I can do up all of the affidavits. We connect them in with the community. I'll put posts up on Facebook and say, this is what we need help with. We've helped them with cars, removing them, connecting them to DV Connect, connecting to one of the services. What we are trying to do is to get churches all over Australia to come on board and actually do this work. So what we do then is when people contact us, and they'll get to know what church it is, but there'll only be one church in each area. So I'm trying to hit up Matt here. This could be the Brisbane, the hub one. And what we do is we train people in the church to help men and women.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So it's all about keeping women safe, but we're also going to work with men. Men need help. We have to help the men. We are never going to stop domestic violence if we don't help the male perpetrators, not to mention the male victims. We've still got men who are victims of domestic violence as well. The reason why I think so many people come from a feminist point of view is because it's all about how many women are killed. When no one's saying that women don't commit domestic violence, but it's about the number of deaths and how easily these women are killed. We've got to help. So what we're doing is we're starting up Zach's Place. So I'll tell you a little bit then about my story. So my grandparents were in domestic violence. My mother was in domestic violence with my father, and the next one, I was in DV, and my kids grew up in that. My son, my eldest son, he left home when he was 15, 16 with bikies basically down in Adelaide. And then his kids. So when we don't raise our kids right, when we don't know how to parent, when we don't have that help, when we don't have that support, when the whole family is broken down, our kids are more likely to do risky behaviours. Well, as it happens in my family, I mean, my son was involved with bikies down in Adelaide, and of course, my grandson, he was the president of his own little bikie gang down in Adelaide. So one night on the 15th of May last year, with his little sergeant of arms on a stolen motorbike, they snorting coke and drinking. They were at a party. He had a fight with his girlfriend, and come on, man, come on, take me, man, come on, take me to Alicia, come on. So they did. No helmets, ran the gauntlet. Zach died at the scene, and his mate died on the way to hospital. So Zach has been riding since he was little. I don't know why he didn't try and ride himself, but anyway, didn't have a bike, I guess. So that's where Zach's Place comes from. This is about generational domestic violence. If we don't stop it, if we don't try and make an impact, if we don't try and do something, you know what? I kind of look and think I'm inadvertently responsible for my grandson's death last year. What do? We have to do something. Yeah. So what we're looking at doing is we're looking at, as men come out of jail, especially if they've been charged with DV or drug offences, then we have got a housing place for them where they will come in and they will work with other men. So one of the guys on my board, they do recovery for men, male perpetrators in particular, but we also have a section where we help males in the church who are victims as well. And they have like, I mean, it's not men's shed, but it's kind of like guys getting together, and all these guys have a history. So they know how to recover. They know how, if these guys want help, these guys know how to recover, and they'll walk with them. We also work with Fringe Care. Now, Fringe Care is they go out and they help men. They don't care if they're perpetrators, they're victims. They just go in and help. They just care about loving people.